Terra's Story Chapter 2. She watched the sea swirl around the island, saw waves spew foam as they crashed on the strip of sand at the base of the cliffs as the plane flew over. Green foliage spread out below as the aircraft glided toward the edge of the runway. A tingle fluttered down her spine and settled in the pit of her belly. The familiarity of the landscape seemed to emphasize how unfamiliar, alien even, she felt in her body. She waited until the dozen or so passengers collected their luggage from the overhead compartment and straggled down the aisle to the ladder, taking them to the tarmac. She grabbed her tote and wheeled suitcase and followed, pausing at the top of the movable stairway. The soft warmth of the island air felt like a welcoming hug. A tall figure waved from the other side of the security gate. Cal was here to welcome her. She could hardly wait to feel the safety of his arms around her. Thank God. Here goes nothing. A lump in her throat and her stomach churning, Terra stepped cautiously down the stairs to the asphalt where waves of heat floated up to wrap around her ankles. Any awkwardness she felt evaporated as soon as she felt her father's arms reach out to pull her in close. She leaned in, laid her head on his shoulder, and let go. Confusion, fear, pain. They all softened and melted away in the presence of his love. There was nothing but gentleness and acceptance. Nothing to be afraid of, nothing to prove. Why did it take me so long to come back? As soon as she acknowledged the thought, the painful past and some probable futures rushed in. No, Terra straightened up to look Cal in the eye. Everything she saw there soothed her. Grace and goodness bathed her in a different light, a warmer, kinder, more generous light than the one in which she saw herself. She laid her palms on each side of his face and reached up to kiss him lightly on the lips. "Geez, Dad, I've missed you. Just feeling your energy is refreshing me," she told him. "I'm glad, Angel." Her father smiled as he stepped back, reaching for her roller case. "Are you hungry? Let's get dinner and talk. We'll drive out to see Simeona tomorrow, but I want my time alone with you first." His eyes clouded. "You don't look so good, Han, and I've been feeling the discord in your energy field for some time now." He stopped suddenly and turned so quickly she almost bumped into him. He waited until she looked up, questioning. "You don't have to suffer, Terra. Pain is inevitable in life, but suffering is optional. I'm so glad you've had enough. Now we can help you get started on your deeper work." Terra stood there, stunned, as he turned and walked away, leaving her to follow with his words ringing in her ears like a call she had repressed for eons. They had driven several miles past palm trees dancing in the twilight breeze and waves of green rippling across the fields before Terra spoke again. "Am I that bad off?" she murmured. "I love you, daughter," Cale replied. He glanced at her sideways and his dimple flashed. "What do you think?" Terra sighed. "Yeah, I'm that bad off." She lifted her head and turned toward him as much as her seatbelt would allow. "I've been feeling so disconnected from, well, everything that matters. Nature? Myself? But Dad, this is as far down as I'm gonna go. I've been—" Cale waited. Terra sighed again, not wanting the feelings of her torment to rise up and suffocate her, make her long for oblivion. "I'm drowning, Dad. I can't do police work anymore. I can't stop seeing the things I see, just investigating an ordinary crime scene." She grunted. "Like there is such a thing as an ordinary crime scene, but as detective I'm always called in to work the worst ones. The bloodier, more brutal ones. But now—" She turned back toward the front and let her eyes unfocus. "It's cumulative, Terra, and now that same killer is back," Cale stated. Terra blinked in surprise. "How do you know?" "He's in your field, Terra," he said quietly. "He's captured a large percentage of your thoughts and pulled you into his hell," she spat. "Yes, Dad, it's hell seeing the carnage he leaves behind, the beautiful innocents." "The dead angels," Cal murmured. "Exactly. There's another dead angel. Last week. After all this time, Dad, it's been 13 years since the last murder." "That you know of," Cal replied quietly. Terra turned to stare at him, then covered her eyes, unwilling to consider the implication. "Thank goodness my girls are long past the profile age, but another victim with the same pattern. It brings back everything I felt when he was active before." Terra shuddered. "I feel so powerless, and trying to figure out how he thinks so we can prevent another life from being destroyed." "Drags you into his craziness," finished Cale. Terra wilted. "Yes, and that's how I feel, Dad. Crazy. I've lost center and I don't know how to get back. But center hasn't lost you, my dear, Kale replied. Center is waiting for you to realign and it will be easier than you think. She leaned her head back against the headrest and sighed. Words, Dad? I don't even know what they mean anymore. Center? Can't even remember what that feels like. Have I ever? It feels like home, sweetheart, he answered gently. It feels like yourself, the place inside you where you and Source are one. I remember the words, Dad. The concept feels so far away, so nebulous. Can I even get there again? You're alive, Terra, and you want to, so it's gonna happen. Kale lifted a hand from the wheel of the car to reach for Terra's. She smiled when she felt his squeeze and ignored the tears that slipped from her eyes. Keep telling me that, Dad. Is that a promise? Yep, it's a done deal, daughter. A done deal. I promise. He squeezed her hand again before putting his back on the steering wheel. Huh, she exclaimed. I'm holding you to it. Terra wanted desperately to believe.